your mind.
Hello, good evening and welcome to Open Your Mind Radio. You have myself, Alan James.
Myself, Stephen George. Good evening.
Good evening. It's Sunday the 29th of April 2018 and it's a lovely evening out there. We have a bit of sun. We don't see it very often, but when we do, we try and make the most of it.
So we're broadcasting from the garden.
With a beer, the beer garden. I wish that was the case. Right, okay, we have a packed show, loads of information. We have two guests on the show tonight. We mentioned the Lemurian plug, and we got that a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to be talking to the proprietors of the plug, not the people who manufactured it, but they actually sell the product, and they've taken over the sale of the product from the guy who actually put it together and created it. And on our second guest, after we have our first guest on, is a lady called Jen McCarthy, who will be speaking about the event and the new Earth, because she does tap into that quite a lot. So we'll be talking to Jen at 8 o'clock all about that. But before we go any further, let's find out what the communication channels are.
Okay, communication channels this evening, folks.
The communication channels are email info@oymireland.com, by phone 046 927 1212, and you can also contact us direct through the OYM chat room.
Thank you very much, Mary. Yes, speaking of the OYM chat room, you will find the chat room on oymradio.com. You will see the links on the left-hand side for all of the communication channels, for the YouTube channel, for Skype, anti-social media, Facebook, and also for Twitter as well. And I suspect we'll be getting our new one up there also at some point in time. I'm looking at the developer here at the moment. For the MeWe.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we are on MeWe. And I have to say, since we've moved over to MeWe, we set up an OYM forum over there, and it's been absolutely jam-packed with people joining us on a daily basis. Several people a day, requests coming in. So, yeah, do check us out on MeWe.com. It is the alternative to Facebook, where they don't follow you, they don't sell your details. So
and there's no adverts and no BS.
No adverts and no BS.
That's on their website.
It is. It says no BS. So I don't know what is BS.
Yeah,
British Standard. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So you have all the communication links there on the chat room, and we're going to be monitoring the chat room for questions this evening. We also monitor People's Internet Radio chat room also, and a big hi to everyone logged into both of those rooms. We're glad you could join us this evening. We also have the phone number, as mentioned, 046 927 1212, if you want to give us a call during the show to ask some questions. And if you're going to call from outside the Republic of Ireland, it's 00353 469 271212. We also have, we're also transmitting on the TuneIn, the TuneIn radio application. That's a free application for your smartphone or your iPhone, where you can check us out and listen to us 24 hours a day. So, hi to everyone tuned in on all the platforms. Alan.
Brilliant stuff. Right, back over to you, Steve. You're going to kick us off.
Yes, okay. We had some news in from a listener, from Michael, and Michael says, I have a friend who was in Glasnevin Cemetery and went over to Eamon de Valera's grave. An older woman came over and told him she was a young nurse when De Valera was dying, and he kept on saying, I hope God forgives me for what I done. Anytime she offered to call a priest, he said, no. He told me this maybe 2 years ago. It could be 5 years, the way time is. So, yeah, what do we make of that?
Well, again, it's very interesting. We've no evidence bar the testimonial there. And, well, we kind of know the history of De Valera, and he did kind of sold the country out to be honest with you, if you look at the history. So, that kind of confirms it, really. I think we all know that. Right, okay, just that, we mentioned that. A listener sent it in, Michael, and we thought that was interesting. So just to let you hear it. Right, okay, now, KBC Bank were supporting a night run to support mental health, but yet they evicted people from their homes, which would cause mental health in the first place. Surely this is a complete hypocrisy, and all the people involved in the run obviously don't understand this hypocrisy and what KBC Bank are doing. This is in relation to Linda and Gordon from Balbriggan. They evicted them on the Tuesday evening when the beast from the east was due the next day. All that bad weather that we had, and they had Ben Gilroy did an update video. If you haven't seen it, check it out on Facebook, where they actually threw Gordon out. Gordon, that's Linda's husband, threw Gordon out of the court because he wanted to know was he dealing with positive law or law, and obviously the judge didn't want to answer that question, and he should have done, because all Gordon did was ask him a question: is it positive law? Because he had two testimonials or two information on both defences on both positive law and normal law, but he needed to know which one it was, and the judge wouldn't tell him. So the judge evicted him from the court, and on the way out the door, the guard who evicted him gave him a thump in the back as well, just for good measure, because the guard are thugs anyway, alright? And it's on video, you can see it, where you can see where the guard hit him in the back, and you see him throwing his head back, because he got a thump in the back. And then that meant that he broke up the couple, and then the judge starts saying to Linda about your home, and she said, no, dwelling. No, it's a home, dwelling, a home, property, and Linda kept saying dwelling. And they just won't use the word dwelling in court. And that's in our constitution. So I really don't know what's going on, but they're trying to jail this couple, and all they're doing is trying to defend the home from eviction. And KBC Bank are doing a support mental health, and this is what they're doing to the people they're trying to evict. Unbelievable, really, really unbelievable. Check out Ben's update anyway on Facebook.
And you have the judges as well. I mean, I don't know. They're just kind of perpetuating this as well. I mean, what's going on is wrong. We've known for a long time. The people are starting to educate themselves and going into the banks with education, and they're able to kind of speak the legalese and talk to the judge in the language that the judge understands. So everybody's on the same page. But the judges don't like this. They want ignorant people going in there so they can railroad them into whatever the hell they want to do, and it's not fair. And as we said before on this show, people need to educate themselves and organise. Yeah. It's all about organisation. We need to stand together.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, back to me.
Back to you.
Yes, it's like a game of tennis. Some USAHealthTimes.com says drug maker will soon hold patent on THC CBD as cancer cures. GW Pharmaceuticals, a drug company that specialises in cannabis-based pharmaceuticals, has received early approval on a patent covering the use of marijuana chemicals for treating brain cancer. GW Pharmaceuticals announced on Wednesday that it had been issued a notice of allowance from the US Patent Office for a patent application involving the use of THC and CBD, the two main chemicals in marijuana, for treating gliomas. Once a patent application is deemed a genuine invention, the Patent Office sends a notice of allowance that outlines the fees involved for final approval. Well, now let's see where this one goes.
Well, see, they're trying to patent the plant again.
Yes.
How can you patent the plant?
You can't.
You can't. They're trying to patent the plant. They know people are beginning to realise that CBD and THC actually cures cancer, and so many people have been cured of taking it, rather than staying away from the chemo. And it's people begin to wake up and realise and start using it, and they want to kind of jump on the bandwagon because people are not using their drugs. Unbelievable. But there you go. How's your week?
Yeah, my week's been fine. I've got two little things that I want to mention. Very quickly, actually. One is Alfie Evans. I don't know if anyone outside of, say, Ireland and the UK has been following the story of Alfie Evans. Alfie is a small child. He was 23 months, and he was fighting for his life in a hospital in the UK. And basically what happened was the hospital said that he couldn't be cured. It was a degenerative brain condition, and he couldn't be cured. He was going to die, and there was a big court case that ensued, and the hospital got the right from a judge to turn off the life support machine and basically end Alfie's life. The whole country, the UK and a lot of people in Ireland were up in arms over this, and there was protests, and as you can imagine, you can pretty much imagine exactly what went on. But the judge kind of said, no, the doctors have the right to turn off the life support machines because, from what they're saying, the child's going to die. So this life support machine was turned off early last week, and they were expecting the young toddler to die shortly afterwards. He didn't. He was able to breathe on his own. And that was step one, where people should have kind of said, oh, okay, he didn't die and we thought he would have. So they should have looked into it further. there was a lot of other stuff that went on in the background. I say you can look this up and you get all the details, but for the couple of minutes we have here, I'm just going to kind of go over them. He was offered, the family basically wanted to bring him somewhere else to see if they could help him, because obviously this hospital had said, that's it, he's going to die, we're not going to intervene anymore. It's palliative care from here on in. So he was made, and I think the Pope intervened as well, Pope Francis, and he basically got involved and said that, you know, they would do what they could over there in Italy. The child was made an Italian citizen, and they had an air ambulance at the ready to go over and airlift him over there for some extensive, obviously, therapy over there, because the Italians said they wanted to have a look and see what they could do, because obviously the UK hospital had basically given up on the child. The people from the air ambulance went into the hospital to move the child, and they were escorted out by members of the police force. And there's a lot of pictures actually and video footage on social media and around the web of a team of police officers around this hospital, guarding it with their life. But anyway, subsequently, between the jigs and the reels, the family had gone to various different appeals through the high courts in order to get their son airlifted to Italy, and it was denied at every step. So subsequently, he died yesterday. I'm sad to report, and people probably know it who've been following the case, but he did die yesterday. Now, he was almost a week breathing on his own, and in that week he could have easily been airlifted over. The judge said no, because it wasn't in the child's best interest. Well, obviously, just turning off a life support machine and letting him die, that's obviously not in the child's interest either. But they did, and that's what happened. And it's just one of these cases where you realise that when you have a child and you get the birth certificate and they do go into the whole system, then the parents become nothing more than caregivers. The state becomes the parents. And we've said this a long time ago. There was a vote that took place here in Ireland about the Children's Referendum Act. I can't remember the exact details of it, but it happened a few years ago. And we tried to educate people, as did a lot of other people, the Sovereign Independent being one such group. And we tried to educate people, saying that, you know, if this is voted through, then you will no longer be the parent, so to speak. You'll be a caregiver. Unfortunately, people didn't listen, and it came in. So the same thing, that case that happened in the UK could happen in Ireland any day soon, any time. It really could. So our thoughts, obviously, are with the parents of Alfie Evans this evening. And, you know, anyone who hasn't heard of it, look it up, and you will get all the details. And that's that. The only other thing I want to mention is one of our listeners, Andrea. She's one of our friends on Facebook, the anti-social media. And Andrea had a video up during the week. And, you know, sometimes you see videos and it looked kind of interesting, so I clicked on the video. And what I saw, I don't know if Alan has seen it, but what I saw has kind of remained with me for the rest of the week. And I actually lost sleep over it a couple of nights just thinking about it. Now, I'm not sure if it was a genuine video, but Andrea seems to think that it may have been part of a clip out of a World War II film, out of a movie. Now, if it was, I hope that's all it was. But the fact that if it's in a movie, it's probably based on real events. And basically what it was, if you can picture this, it was a truck being loaded with adults and children, all kind of stripped to their bare skin, basically. And they're all getting shoved into this van. And there was a mother and a child, and the child didn't want to go into the truck, and some guy came over and he started kicking the little walkway that the mother and child were on, and eventually they complied. They went into the van, the doors were locked, and in my ignorance, I'm looking at this video, I'm thinking, okay, they're obviously getting carted off somewhere to a concentration camp, and that's, I could happily accept that, but then the truck was started up, and there was a big hose pipe. It looked like a big hose pipe, and it was connected onto the exhaust, and then they connected it onto the back of the door of the van with a valve. And then this guy just started driving around. You could hear people screaming, and then this guy started driving around in the van. So basically, he was just gassing them to death in the back of a van. And I thought, oh my Jesus, is that real? Because if that's real, it's absolutely horrific, and it sends a message. It sent a message to me exactly what suffering people actually went through. Back at those times, and, you know, obviously the men who kind of perpetrated these crimes, and it was absolutely horrible. Now, Andrea did offer to remove the video if it was causing distress, and I said no. I said leave it there, because it did have an effect on me, and, you know, maybe more people need to see it and just see exactly what does go on or what can go on in this world we live in. Anyway, that's it.
Well,
I'm sorry.
That's it. Okay,
Yeah,
well, okay. Well, funny you should talk about that subject matter because that's what I'm going to be talking about.
Yeah.
So before we bring our guests on, just a quick couple of notes. Now, that's a kind of typical example of what I'm going to be talking about here, kind of, right? Now, it's a little bit different, but the same, if you know what I mean. Right. I just say, all the time we say to our listeners, send us in links and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, thanks for everybody that sends in the links. But please don't send any dodgy videos or video with questionable content. We know what is going on with the abuse going on, gangs beating up teenagers and videos doing the rounds like Hillary Clinton and Huma doing satanic stuff to a young girl. But we don't need to see it. Now, Thomas talked about it on his show, and that was enough for me, for him talking about it. I don't actually want to see the video. I don't want to see any of these videos. But we know what's going on. Look, we've had enough guests on the show. We've had Ted Gunderson, he was the head of FBI Los Angeles, and he come on the show and told us what was going on with Hollywood stars being involved in all the abuse and all that kind of stuff. But we don't really want videos and links sent into us with dodgy content. If you can avoid doing that, thanks a lot. Just tell us about it. If you want to tell us about it, tell us about it. But, also, the other thing is, can you please make sure that your antivirus is up to date? There's a big attack on the social media at the moment, all right, on the alt media, and they're attacking social media as well. And the reason why I say that is because they're ramping things up because they're trying to shut down alt media, and I'll be talking about that as well. It's got to do with now when you sign up now, the new laws or the new rules with the likes of Hotmail and the likes of Skype and the likes of Facebook, they're all bringing in new rules that you have to agree to, and if you don't agree to, then they won't let you connect up, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But basically, what happened was, with the hackers and the viruses that are out there, I don't know whether you remember, in 2012, it was back around 2012, Facebook was first attacked with a virus that infected the person's Facebook account and posted a video that pretended to be from your Facebook friend, but it wasn't, and everyone else could see it except the Facebook friend. So they didn't know that the virus had posted the video, and this is the first time a virus had actually infected social media. Now, you'd think that the people at Facebook and all these social media sites would have some kind of security in place to stop that from happening, but it didn't. And that was the first time. Now there's more of these going around because I posted up something that happened a few weeks ago with the same thing. Loads of people got hit with this, and even though your antivirus might have been up to date, it didn't matter as it was an FB posting. Well, what can we do about it? It's the responsibility of the social media site to be secure for its users, but Facebook got cut out big time. Now, this did happen again a few weeks ago, once bitten, twice shy. So I PM'd the user, and they confirmed that their account was compromised. So I posted this up on my own Facebook account, a warning for people to watch out. So it's still happening now. So accounts getting compromised, dodgy content's getting put up. If you are connected to my Facebook account, go over there, you'll actually see a picture of what I look like. Her account got compromised for whatever reason. So they are attacking social media more. And also, watch out for a number of people who want to be your Facebook or social media friends. Before we went live, I showed Steve 3 pictures of 3 women that wanted to be my Facebook friend. And when you go over to the timeline and see what they've done, they don't have much of a history. The latest one, which was this week, had some cooking tips on there, and she had nothing got to do with the alt media whatsoever, so she got chucked out. But they all seem to be young women in a glamorous pose, and it's probably not young women at all. It's got to do with some kind of setup somewhere,
It's obviously a scam, and obviously they're getting these pictures of women off the internet and using that as a fake profile. But I thought Facebook were supposed to be clamping down on all this, people setting up fictitious profiles.
No, they're still doing it. This is the second one I've had in a couple of weeks. I also had the blonde girl a couple of weeks ago, wanting to be a Facebook friend as well. And I showed Steve the photos, and he always seemed to be, so they're obviously going for he's a man. If I have this glamorous photo of a girl, he's going to click and like me and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah, the pictures actually Alan showed me were typical of, the sort of people, the sort of image that you're actually getting in your mind right now is kind of the glamorous girl with the hourglass body and, big assets and all that sort of carry on.
Yeah.
So, eye candy.
Yeah, the eye candy, and then obviously there's a lot of men see that and clicking it, but we got rid of it. So just be on your guard with make sure your antivirus is up to date, and if you get any requests or people send you over links to videos and stuff like that, find out and PM them first and ask them. I thought this would be all done. I thought when Facebook got hit in 2012, and I thought they would have sorted it, but it's still going on. So PM them and say, did you send that over? And make sure that they did send it over, and it's not because their account got compromised, because obviously things are ramping up, things are getting worse. And as I said earlier, just a reminder that Facebook's new terms and conditions are due to take effect on the 1st of May. As we do not agree with these new terms, well, myself and Steve will talk about it, but I don't think we're going to agree with them. We might not be clicking the agree button, and we may be banned from Fascist Book from May the 1st. If that happens, we'll be on MeWe. So just to let you know, we'll see what happens on May the 1st, so there you go. Anyway, right, let's bring our guests in, because we've talked enough. Right, remember a couple of weeks ago we mentioned that we found this product called a Lemurian plug, and it said it did quite a bit. So we said we'll get a couple, one for me, one for Steve, and we'll give it a test, and we'll see how we get on. So we will talk about that later and let you know how we did get on. But let's find out the history first about the Lemurian plug, and all the things that it can do, and the testimonials that the proprietors have regarding the plug. Good evening, Jim and Janet. How are you?
Very good. Hi. Thank you, Steve and Alan, for inviting us to be on Open Your Mind Radio.
Thanks
here to represent the Lemurian plug.
Great stuff. Thanks a lot for coming on. Now, I was very kind of intrigued when I came across the Lemurian plug and the history of it. Godfrey was the creator or the originator of this idea. So you go ahead and tell us the history and what happened, and then we'll talk more about the plug later on. But give us a bit of a bio of how this all came about.
I will, yes. It's Geoffrey Radford is the gentleman. He was actually born in England in 1936. He was a professional tennis player, and he played for Australia. He played in Wimbledon in 1955. So very interesting gentleman with a very interesting background. From my understanding, he had a tennis club in New York. And that is where, this is real early on, probably 30 years or 30 plus years ago, he was invited to a meeting. He wasn't real sure how this gentleman wandered into his tennis store or his club in New York and invited him to some sort of meeting. He didn't have anything else going on, so he wandered to this meeting. And it ended up being like a Health Expo, is how he explained it. And this was all new to him, but this woman that he ran into or met or was there speaking at the meeting claimed to be from Lemuria. And although she didn't have much for him at the time, she singled him out of the crowd and said, "You have a lot of work to do." It was just very interesting. He didn't do much with it. As he was older then, and 20, 30 years passed, he started working with it a bit. He was now the founder of the Lemurian plug, of which he figured out what type of device would carry this frequency that would neutralize negative energies. Yeah, negative frequency. My introduction to Geoffrey Radford was just a couple years ago. I'm a retired teacher, and a mutual friend of ours said, "Can you help this friend out? He's got this little business going. He doesn't know much about the website or Facebook or PayPal or anything like that." And so I kind of got into it going, what in the world is this? I was probably one of the naysayers out there. And I still don't fully understand it. But Geoffrey became a very good he was my business associate. He became a very close friend, and toward the end, I was his caregiver and his health advocate. So he begged my husband and I to carry on this legacy, and we felt very strong and compassionate about that. And I guess that's how we landed here, now being the proprietors of the Lemurian plug.
And obviously, I know that it's Geoffrey, isn't it? I keep saying Godfrey, don't I? It's Geoffrey. Geoffrey had this lady got up and talked and said she was a healer in Atlantis 26,000 years ago. And now we did have a little chat before we went live, and myself and Steve, our audience and our listeners are familiar with myself and Steve using and trying out certain technologies. And we get gifted certain technologies again, thank you for your donation there. That's much appreciated. But we get gifted the technologies and we test them out and we give our honest opinion with them. And we understand how important frequencies are, because a lot of the stuff that we have, the likes of the Pain Genie and the Spooky and now the Lemurian plug, are all frequency based, and we know frequencies can be healing. They can be good frequencies and bad frequencies, and the evidence of that is the likes of the dangers of Wi-Fi and 5G and all that kind of stuff. And we talked about the music as well, that music on 440 hertz is bad, but music on 432 hertz is good. So we know frequencies are good, and sometimes they can, as I say, with your testimonials, people have turned around and said they have found benefits with the plug. What we want to do is try and understand the process of what happened. Now, I don't know whether you can tell us what you do, because we know it's a manufactured product, and obviously you get it manufactured and then it gets shipped to you, and that's just bog standard stuff. It's when you get it, you yourself and Jim get it, and you do what you have to do. And can you tell us what you do, or has Jim or has Geoffrey told you what to do? Obviously he's told you what to do, but has he told you why you're doing it?
We do have a process that we go through with the devices after we receive them, and it is proprietary. You can buy this device or a similar device somewhere, and what we have then is we put the Lemurian frequency on the device or in the device, and that's our product. The device actually is merely the carrier that we use to distribute the frequency to the people who are buying it. It's like a guy goes in a hardware store and he's looking to buy a drill bit. What he really wants is a hole. And so people who are buying the plug, they're buying the frequency and get the plug as the carrier of the frequency.
Okay, and do you know what frequency you're working with the plug?
I don't. We're not techies, and we call it a frequency because Geoffrey called it a frequency. In our minds, it may not even be a frequency. It could be something else, and it could be an energy. It could be a field. It could be something that we don't even have a name for. It's just something that we got used to calling it the frequency because Jeff called it the frequency, and so that's what we call it.
Okay. It's just a pity that he never kind of explained to you. Did he know? I don't know, but if he did, it's just a pity he didn't explain to you about the actual product and how it works, because that would have been beneficial for yourselves. Now, I suppose the big question that our listeners are probably wondering, and we mentioned this, we had a quick talk about it before we went live, is how did we get on with the plug? And as we said before we went live, myself and Steve, I would basically, how it came about was I was surfing around the internet, and I came across the Lemurian plug. Obviously, there's a reason why I came across the plug, because there's no such thing as coincidence. It's all synchronicity. So obviously, right. Exactly. So I came across the plug, and I thought, well, this sounds very interesting. Again, it's based on frequencies, and we use stuff that we've been gifted to work with frequencies. So I said to Steve, we'll get it and we'll give it a test and we'll let our listeners know how we get on with it. So thanks very much. A very quick delivery, I have to say. Well done on that. So it came in, and now the problem is with the Lemurian plug is that obviously we're in Ireland, Europe, and we have a 220 volt system, and the Lemurian plug only works with 110, but you don't need to plug it in for it to work, correct?
Correct.
That's right.
Right.
Actually, Geoffrey was interested in having the plug-in prongs removed because it doesn't have to actually be physically connected to electrical wiring. It doesn't operate on electricity. It doesn't need electricity to operate. It's actually doing what it does when we put it in the package to ship it, and that's carry the frequency. So the reason for the plugs or the prongs on there that allow us to plug it in the United States is so that the frequency can be piggybacked onto your home's electrical system, and therefore it spreads the frequency throughout the home. In your case, with the higher voltage, you can't plug it in because you'll power it, and it'll get overheated. And, that could be dangerous. So you don't want to plug it in. Now, we have said that, you can if you're using an adapter that's a step-down transformer, but we don't recommend that because of liability reasons. We don't want to say, okay, you can plug it into any adapter and then, you're not going to have a fire.
Yeah, well, you know you're electric and we don't, so
right.
Adapter is fine as long as you know what you're doing with it.
And we can't test every adapter to make sure that it's usable and so forth, but you can do it that way. What we have recommended is you only need it within close proximity to an electrical outlet in order for the frequency to piggyback onto that wiring. So we've recommended that you attach it to the outlet and, use your imagination on how to do that. Some people use a power strip, that they can lay on the floor and just lay the plug on it and affix it with some tape or a zip tie. Or something, but that's all well and good, and just attach it with the prongs facing out into the room.
That's basically what I've done. I think you've done.
I've done the same, yeah.
I was thinking about doing the step down transformer. I do actually have one, but I said, you know what? I'm going to stick to what they say in the documentation for Europe, and just get a double back sticky tape and stick it onto the power socket. And then put it there and then see how we get on. So we've done that. Myself and Steve have done that. Now, one thing, Steve, you've gone to hit the nail on the head. When you asked us how did we get on with it? We said, well, we haven't noticed anything different. But then again, we don't know what we're looking for. So maybe you can tell us the things that people have said or found, testimonials, and maybe we can go, if one of these things is what people found, we can go, okay, that's what's happened in their house. So we don't know really what we're looking for, so maybe you can help us with that.
I have to agree with you, Steve and Alan. At first, too, when I started helping Geoffrey, I went, don't notice a thing. I'm not really picking up on it. But I'm not as sensitive to the energy fields as some. I've met people since being more aware of this energy sensitivity that instantly feel it, or they'll walk into a room or they'll be near the plug and go, what is that I'm noticing? So I myself am not as sensitive, neither is Jim, I guess. So we probably would be like you. We'd have to be looking for what it is. But some of the things that I have noticed is, we're here in the desert of Arizona, and there's a lot of dust around. I don't have to dust my home as much as typically you would have to. I think the dust settles more. That was one of the claims that Geoffrey would make.
Okay, Steve, you mentioned that.
I noticed that. Okay.
You didn't notice that?
I did actually notice that, because I said to Alan only last week that that was one of the things that it did say, that it would kind of, it would charge the dust particles, and they wouldn't be kind of as noticeable. And like where I have my desk at home, like my little workstation, every so often there'll be a little film of dust, and I have to wipe it off. But before, the last time I actually wiped the desk was when Alan. We received the plugs, and Alan gave it to me, and I knew like that was one of the things. So I said, I'll put this thing to the test. So I wiped the desk and I cleaned everything. There was no dust, and I have to say, to this day, and that must be 2 weeks ago, and to this day, there's still no dust.
That's one of the crazy little things. I think too. We're in an area where everyone in this neighborhood has the same amount of square footage. I help some other people with things, and I've seen their electric bill. Ours is probably, on average, 10 to 15% less. Now, that was one of the claims Geoffrey said, too. Your refrigerator is going to run more efficiently. You can turn it down a bit. Your stove is going to work a little better. Your air conditioning. So I have to say we've noticed that. The fruits, vegetables last longer. I can buy apples and lettuce and things, and it feels like it lasts a lot longer. I don't necessarily go for organic or stuff like that, but the claim, too, is that this reduces the toxins that are in some of these things, and so we get it lasting longer. I have noticed flowers, the few occasions that I get cut flowers. I'm smiling and he's laughing.
Jim, go and do the decent thing. You get more flowers.
Those crazy things will last 3 weeks on my table. So that made me start thinking, too, okay, there's something to this. Again, I think Jim, I'm going to let Jim talk here in a little bit. He's actually had more testimony as a non-believer from some of the pain management.
Yeah, when I first heard about this, I thought, you've got to be kidding me. It's just not possible. But I play pickleball. It's a court game. It's a small court compared to tennis. You can put 4 pickleball courts on a tennis court. And anyway, it's a game, you hit a ball around and back and forth and so forth. And I was chasing down a lob, a high shot to go over my head, and I got my shoes tangled up and I fell down. And it was one of those things. I landed real hard on my left arm. Of course, I'm right-handed, so my right hand had a paddle in it, and so my left arm was out trying to catch me. And long story short, I ended up with a separated bicep tendon in that arm, and it's a fairly painful injury that won't heal on its own. But Jeff told me, he said, "Hey, while you're sitting around listening to the radio or whatever you're doing, plug a extension cord into a circuit that you have the plug plugged into, and then wrap that around your arm, and it'll get better." And I said, yeah, okay. So I did that, and 10 days or so, it was better. Now, my question was, well, would it have gotten better anyway had I not put the extension cord around my arm, done this religiously 2 hours a day for all these days? And I can't honestly say either way. I don't know. So I had another instance where I had a groin injury, and got up in the morning, and holy smoke, I was looking at the internet at these hernia trusses, trying to find what I can do to find some relief from this groin injury or something, and then I thought, okay, I'm going to try the plug. So went and got a plug. We have a lot of plugs around here, so I just got one. I pushed it onto that area and held it there, and about 3.5 hours, that pain was gone, and it never came back.
You played pickleball that night.
I was bouncing around just like I normally do, and there wasn't anything with that. The third instance was not so long ago. I had a tooth abscess, and I was in denial. I says, I don't want to go through this. I don't want to do a dental procedure. I don't want to have a root canal. I don't want to go through all that nonsense. But I knew, this pain that I've had before. I said, oh my gosh, here it is. So I let it go for so long. I actually got an earache from it, and so I thought, what can it hurt? So I took my cell phone, which I had optimized by the plug. One of the things we recommend, you get your plug, you lay your cell phone on it for 4 minutes, and then it will acquire the frequency. And so I'm using the cell phone and a headband that I have the thing attached to the side of my face with, and I slept with that way about 3 nights. And during the day when, I was feeling this, I would just put the cell phone right up against my face like I was talking on the phone, even though I had no phone call going on. And that is gone. It took about 5 days, and the whole thing just disappeared. No earache, no toothache, nothing. It's just back to normal.
It's it kind of frightens me a bit. I know, I did the same thing. When I got the plug, the first thing I did was I put it on my mobile phone and left it there for a short period of time, and my mobile phone apparently has the frequency. Putting the mobile phone to your head, to a lot of people, because we don't understand the Lemurian frequency, they'd be going, well, radiation and all that with the mobile phone. So one of the questions I said to Steve before we went live, before we got talking to you, was if there was any way that we could put a meter on this, or some way that we could gauge that it works, or that it's working and it's doing what it's doing. Now, my power bill is going to be coming in shortly, in the next 2 weeks, so I'm going to definitely have a look at that, and then if there's a bonus with that and it's down, then happy days. That'd be brilliant. But it'd be great to, because you're going to have your naysayers and your disbelievers and stuff like that. Yeah. Myself and Steve are open-minded, and we do understand the whole frequency thing, because, as I say, the other technologies that we have use frequency. And so we're familiar with that, and our listeners are used to listening to our shows and having people on and talking about, like yourselves, products that they have. So we can understand that, but there's always going to be the hardened skeptic who'll say, I want evidence. So it'd be great to go, well, here's before, and here's a meter reading, and here's after, and here's another meter reading, and there you go. I don't know whether that's going to be possible.
Yeah, and we're not, like Jim said, we're not really the techie people. We don't totally understand it. We don't even fully understand the use of pendulum. Jeff always uses the pendulum in muscle testing and things. So I really welcome your experts in that area to check it out. I know there's been some Kirlian photo. Are you familiar with that?
You're talking about Kirlian photography.
Yeah. There's been some testing of that too, which has proven positive for the plug. Jim and I we feel like Geoffrey Radford's extension of his hands, feet, and voice that's remaining on this earth. And we don't claim to know it all. And, you said something about Jeff not explaining it more to us. He also said he didn't fully understand it all. But he knew what he was given, and he was very passionate about it. And now we have to go on the testimonies that people send in. And if you were to look at the Lemurian Plug website, you're going to see a lot of testimonies that I have totally copied and pasted right from emails and different texts and Facebook posts that I've gotten, and I've put it on the website to share, because really that's our main testing and proof that we have as the testimonies, but we would really welcome some. We know that there's been some testing that has been done when they said, well, it doesn't block the EMFs. Well, it doesn't block the EMFs. It changes it, to a more positive, so it's not a problem.
So have you considered maybe doing a QHHT regressional session, or going to a medium and seeing if you could get some information that way? I mean, it's a bit of lateral thinking, but just to see if you can find out any information. I mean, it's a possibility. I mean, it wouldn't do any harm.
Right, and I probably more so than Jim are kind of being introduced. I feel like I'm being led to that and introduced to it. I was at a meeting not long ago. You have to understand, this is all kind of new to me, so I'm a little skeptical jumping into that, and need to feel like I'm guided to the right one too.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Look, there's no problem being an open-minded skeptic. But as we say, Aristotle said, the mark of an educated mind is to entertain a thought without accepting it. And part of having a kind of what we call a fluid belief system is to challenge what your belief system is, because that's how you learn. Too many people are closed-minded. When you present them with an idea, it's not about believing, it's about going, okay, I'll check into it and I'll have a look at the facts and see. And this is what we're doing with the Lemurian plug. You've got testimonials from people coming back to you, saying the experiences they've had with it. So maybe, because it'd be good, and I know you're probably frustrated, yourself and Jim might be frustrated, because time and time again, I'm sure people ask you, what's behind it, what's this, what's that, and you're going, well, we can't really tell you, and, and that would be very frustrating. Regarding the frequency that it's on, we do have equipment here that does frequency testing and checking, but, it could be so high up in the frequency chart that we wouldn't be able to scan it, or it could be so low. I'd like to think it's a low frequency and not a high frequency, because anything over 300 megahertz is microwave and it's not good for you. So I'm assuming that it's going to be more of an earth-based frequency. It's going to be low frequency. Because that's where all the healing frequencies are when you're dealing with the likes of life and cancer and all that kind of stuff. So I would like to think it's the same thing. But we've no way of checking. So even if we could get an idea of the frequency, that would be great. Now, I know we're going to hook you up with our next guest who's going to be on shortly, because Jen McCarthy actually she talks a lot about Lemuria, and she's got links to it and stuff like that. So hopefully between the two of you, between yourself and Jim and Jen, you can get together and have a talk, and maybe Jen might be able to help you. Or maybe, if Jen can't help you, maybe somebody can. But I think that would be a good idea. As I say, the kind of jury's out at the moment, and that's the kind of nice way to, that's the best way to put it, I think. The jury's out because we haven't seen, Steve's seen the dust fairies he's no dust on the table, so maybe it was your wife. Well,
unless she's sleepwalking and coming down and cleaning the desk. And I don't tell you, if the Lemurian plug can make my wife get up during the night and clean, I'll have to get another one.
Yeah, so we're going to have to. I have to say, I was trying to be observant as well, and to see in the 2-week period, was there anything. But look, it could be just a subtle thing over a period of time. I don't think it's going to be anything dramatic. But I think maybe it's something that it's just, subtly over a period of time changes take place.
Well, one thing I noticed now, I don't know, maybe you're wearing a hairpiece or something, but you see your hair seems to be, it's looking very full.
I'm 6'4" with hair. Yeah. Oh, I wish that we need a med bed for that, I think. Yeah. No, it's, that's, so we'll give it time and we'll test it again. And in the meantime, if you guys find out anything about it, by all means, you can contact us and let us know. For people tuning in now, listening to the show, and are considering the Lemurian plug, are going to try it, I did kind of Google it, and I went on YouTube to find out about it, but there's no videos there. I couldn't find any videos out there to talk, to say about the Lemurian plug, or somebody talking about it and stuff like that. So I don't know whether you have any video testimonials.
We don't, and that probably would be a very good thing to do and put together. It just, it's been very difficult, I guess, since last fall when Jeff passed away. He was very close and dear to us, and so when we finally realized that this was our commission from him and to carry on his legacy, we're still trying to figure out the pathway to do that. So thank you for that.
I think a video, a YouTube video or video that you put out there explaining the Lemurian plug, and I admire your honesty in saying, look, we don't really know what the secret is behind it. And that's probably the best way to do it, because if you don't know it, then just be honest with it, because otherwise you could go down a path that you could get caught out with, And and so saying that, and as you say, even Geoffrey didn't really know how it worked, and getting in touch with this lady who was talking about it, because we've heard about Lemurian, we've heard about the Agartha network underground, the underground people and all that. We've had people on the show talking about that stuff, Now, I've never seen anybody from there. I've never been down there. Is it true? I don't know. But the whole idea of what we do here at Open Your Mind Radio is to keep an open mind to it and entertain it.
That's where we're at, too.
You know, one of the things that strikes me is we've been doing this, with Geoffrey and stuff included for years now, and people are still ordering. And so if it was completely worthless bunk, that would dry up. And it just hasn't. And so our method of marketing is word of mouth, basically. And so those who are acquiring the plug are obviously telling other people about it, and the orders just keep happening. So it's
I've got an idea for you, for both of you.
Good.
I've got an idea. If you want to do this, right, it's up to you. How about a laboratory test, right? That you get 10 people, right? And what you do is it's not a double-blind test, but what you do is basically get 10 products and do what you have to do with 5 of them, and then don't do anything with the other 5, and give them out to 10 people, and then wait for the feedback to come back to see what's said.
I like that idea.
Right? And then you could do that experiment, and then it's like giving people a placebo tablet, right? And then they say, right, we're going to give you this for a month. After a month, come back and let us know if you experience anything. And they won't know which one is the proper one or which one is the placebo.
So how do you know which one that we sent to you or to Steve actually has the frequency?
Well, you would know. You'd give it a serial number. Each one would have if you were doing 10 people, right, you'd give each one a serial number. And you'd say, that person has serial number this, and that one doesn't have the magic in it, and that one does. And
but it sounds like, at this point, you or Steve wouldn't have a lot, you wouldn't have noticed it much either, but it depends on your need, I imagine. We had it around here a long time before Jim decided to use it for any of his needs.
Yeah, maybe if you find 10 sensitive people, or 5 sensitive people who will be able to pick up the frequency. I'm just trying to come up with ideas for you, which might help or might work for you.
I think one sensitive person, could, either feel it or not feel it. So if we had a device with the frequency, they could feel that.
Well, no, Jim, this is
one without a frequency.
It's been pendulum and muscle tested, and people with that sensitivity can tell. They know.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. So I'm just saying from your own experiment point of view. I mean, obviously, all the plugs that you send out all have the frequencies in it.
Yeah.
So myself and Steve obviously got the plugs, and they have the frequencies in it. The fact that we're not sensitive and we're not picking it up is irrelevant. Obviously, the frequencies are in it. But if you're doing your test, you can get, obviously, 10 candidates, and you'll know it'll be controlled. You'll know which ones have the frequency and which ones don't. And in a month's time, they come back. And if one of them who doesn't have the frequency in it comes back and says, oh, yeah, my house has been brilliant ever since I put it in there, then you'll know there's something, there's something afoot. Just for your own peace of mind with the product. And so it's just an idea. From now, I think if people were to ask us about the plug, I think if people want to give it a go, I mean, it's very, it's a cheap product. It's $35 to buy.
Very affordable.
Right. It's very affordable. So I would say to people, if you're somebody that can pick up frequencies and you're very sensitive to it, especially I suppose if people are kind of sensitive to electricity, that would be interesting. People who are electrosensitivity suffer from that, and they put the plug in their house and they notice a difference in the house. That would be a good experiment, I think.
Yeah, we welcome you to email any of those testimonies or questions to our email address, which I will give out if that's okay.
Yeah, no, we're going to do that now. We're going to be wrapping up things now, and we're going to get all your contact details and everything else, and where people can find you. But yeah, I think just to kind of to help you guys with the product to have more of a solid foundation, because I'm sure, as I say, it's frustrating for you and Jim not to know exactly what's going on. and you probably get frustrated when people ask you, and you have to say the same thing, well, we don't know enough about it. So just an idea that, number one, to probably speak to somebody like maybe a medium or maybe a QHHT to get some information on it if you can. And number two, to do a blind test with people just to kind of prove that it does do what it says on the tin. So there's just a couple of ideas for you. But a big thank you for you and Jim coming on the show. Yeah. Much appreciated.
Stephen Allen, I'd like to challenge you too. If there's anything that we've talked about here today that you might think, well, maybe I should try the plug on that. I would encourage you to do so, like the extension cord wrapped around any pain or any area like that, and just see if you notice anything different.
Can I not
give it a little bit more test yourself? Yeah,
of course. And I do have an idea for that, Janet. And but does it have to be on an extension plug? Can I just put the actual plug on the part directly?
You can just put the plug on the part or your powered cell phone on the part, but the extension cord, how Jeff explained it, it intensifies it.
Oh, okay.
With each wrap that you use, so like around my arm, if I could get that thing to wrap around 10 times, it would intensify the frequency.
Good. Okay. Well, that's something that we're going to have to try and do because I have something in mind for that. So definitely we'll have a look at that. Well, a big thank you, Jim and Janet, for coming on the show, and thanks for your contribution to OYM as well. Much appreciated. And thanks for doing what you're doing and putting it out there. And if we have any information, or when I get my electricity bill, if it's low, I'll be letting you know. Don't worry about that.
And if it's high, if it's high, he'll also be letting you know.
So I'm gonna pass you over to Steve. Steve's gonna get all your details there.
Yeah, look, I want to thank you as well. I know it's only been a short interview, but I think we've got a lot of information. We will give a big plug for the website as well, lemurianplug.com. I have posted the link up on the chat rooms throughout the show, and there is a lot of information on there. There are a lot of testimonials as well, and a Q&A section too. So I'll just pass it back over to both of you guys if you want to just have any closing statements or any other links that you want to maybe throw out there.
No, I just want to thank you again for allowing us to, again, be Geoffrey Radford's extension of the Lemurian plug, and we just appreciate getting the word out to as many people as we can. That was his goal, keep it affordable and spread it around to as many as you can. So
no problem at all.
Yeah, thelemurianplug.com, and then the email, you're welcome to email us at yourradfree@yahoo.com. It's yourradfree@yahoo.com.
Brilliant. And what we'll do is we'll have a talk with Jen, and we'll get her to get in touch with you, and hopefully the two of you can hook up and have a chat and see if you can get any information. That'd be fantastic.
We'll be listening too.
Cheers. Sure. Oh yeah, guys, just stay with us there for a minute. We're just going to go off to a musical break, and we'll be back after this.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMradio.com and peoplesinternetradio.com.
Okay, we're back. That was a little bit of Alan Carna there, Lizards in the Bathtub. And good information there from the Lemurian plug. So as we mentioned just before the break there, do check out the website. There is a lot of Q&A on the website and testimonials as well. And sure, for the sake of $35, it's not going to break the bank. Maybe you could do a little bit of research yourselves and maybe just invest in one. But if anyone does invest in one, please just fire us off an email, info@oymradio.com, just to let us know that you are going to get one. And maybe everyone who's out there, if you wanted to kind of do a little study or a test and maybe just send us in a report, that would be fantastic as well.
And if you suffer from electric sensitivity and you do get one, that would be interesting to see if there's a difference in how you feel. For $35, I suppose it's worth a punt, because if it does help you, then brilliant. If it doesn't, then, because if it changes the frequencies from positive to negative, it might help. I don't know. We're just guessing at the moment, guys. But, maybe give it a go and see how you get on. Right. We're going to bring in our next guest, a lady called Jen McCarthy. She has a Facebook group called The Event Is Happening, if memory serves me well. And before we bring Jen in, Steve's going to give us a breakdown on her bio.
Yes,
get the page in.
Oh my God, this is a long bio. Anyway, sit down, relax. Yes. Anyway, tonight's guest, Jen McCarthy. She's a leading luminary in the ascension and twin flame community. She teaches and guides pioneering and leading change makers in the spiritual community. Jen experienced a life-changing Kundalini awakening aged 21 in the Himalayas in North India, chanting the mantra Om Namah Shivaya. From that moment, she passed over the threshold from 3D consciousness to stabilizing into fifth dimensional consciousness. She is now 43 years of age. I should never tell. Lady never reveals her age, Alan. And has devoted her whole adult life to the spiritual awakening path, mastering many, many disciplines along the way. She specializes in working with the law of attraction, or law of attunement, as she calls it, demystifying ascension and answering the question, what is it and how does one ascend? Twin flame reunion and the removal of the roadblocks and that stand in the way of that. And she is an awakened spiritual teacher, deeply and highly skilled in facilitating a space for all those who she comes into contact with her to awaken fully spiritually. She explains this using the analogy of a candle. When a candle is lit, it is very, very, very easy to light other candles. She's been working quite specifically with the twin flame community recently, but her skills are vast and varied. She can help you bring in greater levels of abundance, greater health and well-being, weight loss, and alignment with your soul's highest destiny. She's been granted access to all the Akashic records through the purification of her own personal ascension process, which enables her to bring forth potent wisdom in order to assist you in successfully completing the lessons you incarnated to master. She has a phenomenal track record in uniting many twin flames, assisting them to connect with their multidimensional aspect and activating their hieros gamos, the inner alchemical, give me the big words, the alchemical marriage.
Alchemy.
Alchemy. Well, this is Alan wrote this. Marriage of the masculine and feminine energies within, and very skillfully identifying and removing all blocks that stand in the way of triumphant twin flame union.
Loads of information there. Good evening, Jen. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah, no, that's Jen's bio, Steve.
It's too long.
It's too long.
You should have asked me for the synopsis version, Alan. Giving it to you, bruv.
Yeah, just a small version. Well, look, thanks for coming on. And I know you do an awful lot. You have a lot of supporters on your group there. And I suppose how we came across you was, I was looking around YouTube and you were talking about the event on New Earth. And on one of the shows, you were talking about a lady that we had on the show a few weeks ago called Angela, who was talking to her son, who was over in the New Earth. And then I posted a comment and saying, Angela's going to be on OYM radio, just to let you know.
Oh.
You see?
Oh, that's what a connection.
There you go. See, again,
yeah.
it's not coincidence. It's all synchronicity.
I know, it's phenomenal. And it's phenomenal for me in a way because, I've been working so predominantly with the twin flame community for like 2.5 years and that's really, really where my deepest sort of wisdom and mission lies really, and that way I've met all the sisters. Like the sisters have been so drawn to the twin flame work, but now with the being sort of like a channel of of information around the event, now it's brought all the masculines, the divine masculines now, the brothers are now joining this tribe of but it's very, very much connected to do with the the restoration of the divine union template, which is ultimately the lie that the Catholic Church stole from us really. It was the truth. Yeah, that is the event. The uncovering of that truth that was stolen.
Well, here's the kind of synchronicity, and it's kind of strange, right? So the previous guests that we had on were the people that are proprietors of a product called the Lemurian plug, and that basically came about because of somebody who was who said she was from Lemuria, Atlantis 26,000 years ago, and gave this guy Geoffrey the technology or the technique of how to put Lemurian frequencies into this device. So we find out about the plug, and we ask them to come on the show when we get the plug, and then we come across yourself, Jen, and then you're talking a lot about Lemurian stuff as well.
Yeah.
And then obviously the people who are the proprietors know that you're coming on the show and you talk about Lemuria, and obviously they want to talk to you and about the Lemurian side. So this is the kind of synchronicity that's going on.
I know, and it was funny because I always knew deeply a lot about Atlantis, and I'd done a lot of work with Atlantis with the twins of the restoration of the Atlantis timeline. But my guides never told me anything. They never showed me anything about Lemuria, and it was all like, you know, as this big wave, ascension wave, came in like March the 18th, because I was very, very awakened already on my path and in my ascension, it hit us all in different ways. And for me, it was about a disclosure, and it was about the actually understanding about, like, you know, the history of this earth, like what has actually happened on this earth, and so I went onto this deep sort of journey of disclosure, and actually watching a lot of documentaries about like Sumeria and the ancient tablets and the you know, the Anunnaki, who were just basically those that fell from heaven. And I started learning about all that, and somehow I found myself down this phenomenal rabbit hole of disclosure. And then within that, because of my psychic kind of, I don't know, like my vibrational placement where I am, I was then able to somehow access direct knowing about Lemuria. And shall I tell you what they showed me? It was absolutely profoundly fascinating what they showed me. Shall I tell you? So they said that it came after a cataclysm where the earth was cleared and purified, and the Pleiadians were looking around for a host planet, like a colony. Well, they'd always been intricately connected to the earth anyway. The earth was ripe for a Pleiadian colony. And so, because it had everything, it had the water, it had the crystals, it had all the minerals, it had absolutely everything. It's like a paradise. Do you know what I mean? And it would just come through some sort of cataclysm, because Earth's been through many, many different stages and cataclysms. And it was just after one of those times that it kind of sung out to the Pleiadians, let's create this colony. So they just landed in all their ships, because they can bring millions and millions of beings in their ships, and they built Lemuria. They built Lemuria. Can you believe that?
Well, they'd have the technology to do it. So yeah. Where is Lemuria?
Well, they showed me it was massive. It was sort of like stretching from New Zealand, definitely, and Hawaii, definitely. It was kind of around that area. I don't know specifics, but what I know is that it was to do with the 144,000 star seeds as well, because we were all there at that time of Lemuria. This is what they told me, because at that time of Lemuria, the seed was sown for this time, if you get me.
Right, so
this time.
So if it's been sown for this time, and obviously what we want to do is talk to you about the event and the new earth and what you've come across or what you're hearing in your readings and the people you're speaking to, and obviously the people on the chat on Facebook. What's your take on the event and these energies? Or, I mean, are there energies happening? Are people experiencing? And some people are saying they're not feeling anything. What's your take on it?
So my take on it is that the event is referring to the end of all the long count calendars, like the Mayan calendars, the Egyptian calendars, the Hindu calendars. They all end at exactly the same point. And that is because the ancient ones knew that the earth was moving towards a particular place within the galaxy whereby it would transform its dimensional reality and like transcend this whole idea of linear time. And this is why all the long count calendars ended around the time of 2012 up to this time of 2018, because the ancient ones knew, because they were the Syrians. The ancient ones were the Syrians and the Pleiadians, and they knew because time doesn't even really exist. All timelines run concurrently.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I do. Yeah. Well, time is a man-made concept, because there's no such thing as time in the fourth and fifth dimension.
So a million years in time exists right now. It's a head spin.
Yeah. I mean, we just think time in a linear fashion, but it's actually, it's all here at once. Past, present,
that's right.
and
That's right. It's all here at once. It's all operating concurrently. And so basically, what they showed me was that the Earth was just kind of like, it was moving because it does a procession around the galaxy, and where it was arriving at in the galaxy now is is in alignment with the center of the galactic sun, which is called Alcyon, is the galactic sun. And Alcyon, she pumps out like photonic light particles, gamma ray particles, very, very, very deeply and very, very intensely. And those gamma ray particles they work specifically with our DNA, and they're a bit like locks and keys, basically. They're sort of like the way I've always understood them, because my spirit team have showed me about these gamma rays for many, many years, and they're definitely they are locks that communicate directly to our DNA, and they inform it to mutate and to not be stuck in this third dimensional illusory paradigm.
Okay.
It's getting into that stream now, so that yeah.
Well, funny you should say that, because in 2005 I was told about this thing called the Photon Belt.
Oh, yes.
And obviously that's where we're going into at the moment.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So we're going into this Photon Belt, and we're experiencing all. Now, the one thing I've noticed, and we've said this on the show before, and there's a lot of people who are not feeling well. They're ill, and they're dying. There's a lot of people passing over and they're dying. And we don't know. We've been told that, well, it's the energy's hitting the planet, and the human frequency has gone up, and people are feeling different things, and some people can't cope with it, and other people can cope with it, because it depends on your level of consciousness and, I suppose, the frequency you're vibrating on. And we're seeing an awful lot of that. What are you seeing from your end?
Well, I'm noticing that there are certain souls that are departing at the moment, but for myself, I've listened to a lot of Alison Coe's stuff from her sessions, and what I think what's going on is that there is there is this new Earth reality kind of already in existence, and I think that a lot of these souls are choosing to transition to this new Earth paradigm that does actually already exist, and it does get complicated, but in the fact that is there a split? And I think that's my biggest question within this whole event thing, because in Alison Coe's work, she speaks a lot about there being a split, and a lot of people talk about there being a split, but for myself, I'm like, well, I'm not going anywhere. I've come to transform this planet. This to me feels where that we're going to transform into Eden, and where we're going to get all the contact, and do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but how long do you think this is going to take? Do you think it's going to be, because people are saying that this year, mind you, every year they say something, but they're saying this year it's supposed to be the year where we're going to have this big event, energy hitting the planet from the galactic center, and that's going to be the big catalyst. At the moment, they're saying that we're subtly getting the waves at the moment. So that's why if we were to get the wave all in one go, it'd probably wipe us all out. So we're subtly getting the wave bit by bit. And that's why people are feeling a bit unhealthy and sore and aches and pains and all that. And there's so many people are ill all at the same time. It's just phenomenal. So, but this bigger thing, these waves are the build up to the big one that's going to be happening. Now, I don't know. I'm just going by what people are saying. And I listened to Alison Coe and other QHHT practitioners, and we've had two of them on, Alba Wyman and Suzanne Bartolos. And so I'm only kind of going by what I'm hearing. Yes. But I don't know whether you do readings as well, and I'm sure you'd speak to other people in your group. What's the timelines that, and we don't want to get tied up in dates, but do you have any kind of timelines, anything?
I can just tell you why I've got a relationship with it, because what happened, I didn't know anything about there being an event, and it was last year, and I remember I was going out for a nice little walk one day, and I'm very, very psychic. I had a very powerful spiritual awakening when I was 21, and my third eye blasted open, and I'm very, very, very psychic and very, very open, but I'd never ever heard anything about any sort of a cosmic event. I knew it was all going to change and transform, but I thought it was just going to happen gradually. I never actually thought there was going to be some sort of event. And anyway, I was just walking out one day, and then my guides, my spirit team, they shouted in my ear. They said, Jen, there's going to be an event and all of the masses, everyone's going to wake up, everyone that's working in these 3D jobs, everyone that likes in the Matrix, they're all going to have an en masse spiritual awakening. Everyone's third eyes are going to go boom. There's going to be like all this light. Everyone's going to see God everywhere. That this is what they told me. And they basically said to me, and the main thing that they're going to need when that happens is music, is chanting God's name. That was their message to me, because I'm a musician, and they were like saying to me, you have to be focused now on getting the music out there, because everyone's about to awaken, like the masses are about to awaken. So they told me this, so then I went and made my YouTube video when I got home. And I was just doing my YouTube video, and then half an hour into the video, I said, oh yeah, guys, by the way, I was just walking along, and my spirit team came through, and they said that there was going to be this event. And the minute I said the word event, this phenomenal light came into the room, and it completely like dissolved my face, and all these light flashes started like flashing in my room, just in the minute of me speaking about the event. And this was in about half an hour after. So it was really, really strong confirmation for me that this was a very important message. Do you know what I mean? That was coming through. So I sort of like, I was like, oh wow, there is going to be an event. Okay. And I guess what happened, to be honest with you, I put it on a bit of a back burner. And then it was about 2 months ago, a friend of mine, she wrote on Facebook, she said, has anyone heard of the event? And I had never heard anyone speak about the event. And so I was like, I've heard of the event. And then it was her who sent me that video of Angela, who you did. Yeah. She sent me the video. And then suddenly I opened up to this world of Alison Coe, of QHHT, of all of these people that knew about the event. And I was like, holy shit. And then I just got this message from Spirit. They were like, you need to set up a Facebook group. Either going to be a page or a group, but the message was a group. So based on watching all these videos on YouTube about the event and realizing it was a phenomena that many, many people, it wasn't just me that was tuning into it. I set up this Facebook group, and it was about 5 weeks ago now, and we've had like nearly 21,000 people join. And it's a really, really the best group anyone's ever been a part of, because we've actually created a new Earth 5D grid. It's phenomenal. So everyone that's coming into the group now are having spontaneous awakenings and Kundalini awakenings, and they're getting like all their synchronicities are exponentially expanding, all their alignments with the numbers, everything, because we've actually created like a grid, an ascension grid that we are assisting to ground in the energies of this new Earth and this transition. So Mother, Father, God has put me on the front line, it feels, of the event.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, no, it's interesting. I happened to say last week on the show, I know I'm not on the new Earth because I'm still seeing the people that are vibrating on a low frequency. So the fact that I'm seeing them means that I must be still down here. I don't know about you, Steve. How about you?
No, I definitely haven't moved over either. I wish we could. I mean, we said it before, that bring it on. We just want this change to happen.
Yeah, we want the change to happen. I mean, if it's going to happen, we want it. The trouble is that when you listen to people doing interviews, and the word soon annoys me, because all you hear people going, oh, it's going to be soon, it's going to be soon. And, I've heard soon for the last 5 years.
Yeah, but the thing is though, guys, is that to me the event's already happened. I've already experienced the event.
Right, okay. Well, then there must be an individual thing, so...
Yes, it is. It's an individual thing, it's an inner and it's an outer thing. And that's why there's, you have to be focused. If you are not completely and utterly in a wedded marriage with the present moment, then, you've got work to do. Because that is the whole awakening process, is the realization that all that exists is the present moment, and everything else is just a perception, it's an illusion. Like what is real is awareness of the present moment, and that is awakening, and that is enlightenment, and that is the internal event. And I speak about that in my work, and it's like, for myself, It's connected to, you know, we as 3D identified beings, and we come in and we get all this programming from all families and religion and societies and media and everywhere. We're like bombarded with this, like, you know, BS of that we're these 3D limited beings. And so we believe we're these caterpillars, you know, but really potentially we're these 5D ascended beings. And for myself and my own, whatever it was that my soul signed up for, because my soul signed up for a very, very, very big meeting with God on the top of a Himalayan mountain when I was 21, chanting Om Namah Shivaya. And in that moment then, that was the absolute, complete and utter death of my ego. Never, ever, ever to be like, you know, because that's it, you know, in that moment of that awakening, which I had that, and not all souls sign up for such an epic meeting with the Creator. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I'm glad you said that, you know, the death of your ego, because ego, we talk about that on a regular basis, and, you know, you have to be able to control your ego and not your ego control you. And one of the things that we talk about is our fluid belief system, and a talk that we did last year at the Basis Conference, and we talk about the ego, and also we're doing another talk in November at the Open Minds Conference, and we do say this to people. Now, ego is part of you. It is part of you, but you control it, and don't let it control you. And the trouble is with ego, it just creeps up on you bit by bit. It's not something that just happens, especially if you're in the music business or in some kind of media business. Yeah. And so yeah, people have to be humble, and they have to be aware of ego, because it can have a massive effect. So it's just funny you should say that.
Yeah, I mean, what I've noticed is, like, when you're really truly enlightened, it's like every single action that you ever do is in service to others.
Yeah, that's what we promote. We promote service to others, and we say that about, you know, that's really what everybody's task is down here on the planet, is to, you know, take care of yourself, not in a selfish way, obviously. Take care of yourself and your service to others. And if we had a society that we were service to others, it'd be phenomenal. It'd be utopia.
Because I just think, when I had my spiritual awakening on top of the Himalayan mountain, I just realised that actually God wasn't some scary man in the sky judging us. God was like the most deepest benevolent force of love that had created every single one of us. And from that moment on, I realised I had a duty to love God's children the way that God would love his or her children if he was here.
Yes.
I see everyone from, like, with God's eyes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, tell me something. Now, this energy that's supposed to hit the planet anyway, and these energies, are you hearing from your group on Facebook and people in general that there's something going on, they're feeling something, and maybe some of them might feel that something's about to happen, maybe this year, I don't know.
Oh God, I got that. I mean, I've been channeling these energy reports for a couple of years, and then I got to January, and my spirit team, they were like, forget about 2012, forget about 2015, forget about 2017. This ascension is about 2018. They were like, this is the year for all of it. They told me that in the beginning, in January, and that is the message that has consistently been coming through throughout all of my channeled writings, and that has been everyone's direct experience. And actually the wave has begun, and it's working on the way showers at the moment, because the way showers, in order, when the masses awaken, the way showers need to be stable in 5D consciousness, and to be stable in 5D consciousness, you need to transition and metamorphose from a caterpillar 3D being to you know, where your ego, like, because as a caterpillar you believe yourself to be like a separate drop of water, and that you've got to, like, you know, survive and you're not safe. But in that moment of, like, awakening, that single drop of water returns back to the almighty ocean and realizes it is one with the entire ocean. And in that remembrance, that activates the metamorphosis of the consciousness to the 5D level. 5D. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
that's it's all about.
We're all one conscious energy, and it's like that meme that's going around saying, when chaos breaks out, make your way to the local conspiracy theorist and he'll be able to help you. So the way showers are the people who are going to be helping. Now, I know you mentioned there that you believe that 5D is here because you're going to be here helping people, and apparently that's the option that people will have. So it's been said, you'll have a choice either to ascend or to stay and help everybody else. Or maybe you can ascend and then come back and help people. I suppose it depends on what options you're given. Now, I don't really know. In all honesty, both of us probably don't know because we're just going with what people are saying. You know, I mean, until you have a personal experience or experience something, then you can't really comment and say, you know, that it's happening. From my point of view, the New Earth, do you think Dolores Cannon and the likes of Alison Keogh talk about the New Earth and there's a divide going on? Now, do you feel that this is going to be a physical split between the New Earth, which will be people that are on a higher level of consciousness and service to others, versus all the negative and all the bad guys?
Well, I have thought deeply about that, and originally I thought, no, I don't believe in separation, I don't believe it's going to split, but then I realised that there's all these infinite timelines that are available, so within that reality, you know that everything's possible and everything's probable and everything's like, that is what's going to happen, because time is not as we know it. Do you know what I mean? So I understand that there is a timeline where there is a split. Yes, I personally feel that I will choose to stay as long as possible to serve while I'm here. I think each soul will make a choice and a decision.
Yeah, but will you be able to go over when you're ready? You know, because this is the thing. I mean, I know, speaking for myself and speaking from Steve, and we're watching the chat room as well, that there's people, we're all kind of fed up. We all want to go and do what we, go and move on, because we're all tired and, enough's enough. And so there's a lot of people that just want to move over to the New Earth or go where they want to go.
I'm not one of them. Yeah, no. So that's cool. I mean, I don't know when this timeline, so, my guys have been really, really saying about 2018 and stuff, and definitely for sure this has been the most intense gamma ray activity that I've ever experienced, and everyone in the group is having full-on ascension symptoms, and many, many, many people are awakening now. There's a lot of spontaneous awakenings happening. As far as I can see, it's completely and utterly happening. Everything's happening. I think I'm going to put a prediction out there that the big wave might come in October. I've got a feeling, because I've got a feeling it's very much connected to a lot of these twin flame unions, and that's what they're showing me, that because the love of these genuine divine counterparts, it's so rare for them to come back together, and finally after many, many eons, because this was what was seeded at the time of Lemuria, was these 144,000 twin soul unions, and this is the golden ticket to the new human, the light body, the activation of the rainbow light body of the human is through your twin connection. And so there's all these twin unions that are happening in this year. That is an absolute fact. This is the biggest year for twin unions.
Well, okay, let me talk to you about this twin union. Are you talking about people getting together, which is the opposite?
No, your twin is the one, like when you were created, when Mother, Father, God thought of you, Mother, Father, God didn't think, I'm just going to create a masculine one day. It's like your energy cannot be created. The masculine and feminine are one. They're like two sides of the one coin.
Okay.
It's like there's no separation, and so you were originally created as a unit of energy, and you stay together. We all stay together in that unit of energy for billions and billions of years. But at some point, it was connected to the time of Atlantis. I'll be honest with you, but this experiment was allowed to take place where this split was allowed to occur within these original god mates, and then that split was so traumatic for these original pairs that this is what's caused a lot of the trauma since the time of Atlantis on the Earth, actually. So this is a very, very big, massive prophecy that is connected to Lemuria, Atlantis, and it's connected to this time.
Okay. So where's my twin?
Your twin is within you. Your twin is your own Kundalini energy.
Okay.
God placed your twin within yourself, and it's as it is within, so it is without. That is the primary axiom of creation. As it is within, so it is without.
Okay, so is that my higher self then?
That's your higher self, exactly. Yes.
Okay, Steve.
Yeah, we met a couple of people at a Pain Genie conference there a couple of years back. There was Kevin and Angel Rose, and they said that I think both of them had been in relationships, and then both of them knew that there was something missing, and both of them kind of went on a journey and ended up finding each other, and they said and have said that they are twin flames. So I mean, is that also a possibility?
Oh, absolutely, because the twins are coming together now, because the twins, it's the most powerful force in creation. The love between these twins that have been separated for eons now, really, really a long time.
Okay.
And this is the prophecy, and this is all connected to the event.
Okay, so question for you. I'm going to play a bit of devil's advocate here.
Okay.
What if we get to the 31st of December? Is it 31st, 20... 30 days have to I have to do the rhyme in my head. What we get to the 31st of December and nothing has happened in the year?
Yeah, but the thing is, I've already had the event.
No, but when you say...
No, the thing is, everyone's got to realise that. As soon as everyone personally had the event, you realise that time doesn't exist. You're in the eternal now.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, if your guides have said that...
You'd be like, oh well, it might happen in 1 second.
Yeah, no, but if your guide, what I'm saying is, if your guides have said that something's going to happen in 2018, like the energy or whatever, that something's going to happen, and then nothing happens, how would you feel about that?
I think, they're having a laugh. They've got a very good sense of humour. They're brilliant.
Yeah, because...
That's what I think.
Yeah, because, the reason why I say that is because over the years that we've done the radio show, there's been a lot of things supposed to happen.
That's 3D though, Alan. That's 3D. Like that even just saying that's like you're stuck in the 3D consciousness, and that isn't what it's about. It's about, like, you know, if we're going to be the way showers, it's like we've got to be in the moment of now. Like the event it's already happened. Like it has to happen on an individual level. Like that's got to be your priority. And don't worry about the external event. That's going to happen as soon as enough people have it internally. Like you need to make that your priority. Like meditate. Do you meditate every day?
No.
Very, very important, like, to stabilise in 5D, you need to meditate every day. You need to, like, you know, because your mind is your greatest kind of, like, for want of a better word, but enemy on the path of the stabilising in 5D. So you need to have a practice where where your mind's just kind of just chilling for a little bit.
It's difficult when you have a family, trust me.
No, it's not. Anyway.
Anyway, yeah, look, I know meditation is important. I'm aware of that, and you know, being a spiritualist, being involved in it, I know how important meditation is and how positive it is. I do try and do it every now and again. I will say that I do try and do it, but maybe I don't do it as I should do it longer.
Just giving you a little kick up the bum, because the thing is, it's like it's our duty now. These waves are so strong, and they're getting stronger and stronger, and the ones all around us really, really need us to be stabilised.
Right. Okay. Well, there you go. That's a tip for everybody there. Go back into meditation.
Tip for everyone was meditation. Meditation's the way forward. You know, even if it's finding a mantra, just finding some way to just to be in that no mind and be in presence.
So, so have you noticed? I think you said to me that your Facebook group has grown exponentially in the last few weeks.
It has, yeah. Yeah, we're nearly up to 22,222. We'll stop at the magical numbers, and we'll be there probably tomorrow.
Well, that's a fantastic group. That's a lot of people in a group that have that amount. So obviously, now there is a mass awakening. I'm sure you're aware of all the negative stuff that's going on in the world anyway. And
don't follow the news. I don't. My mum gives me the sort of lowdown every now and again, but I don't know. I don't follow the news.
No, I'm not talking about what's on the news. I'm talking about that's just propaganda. I'm talking about the other negative stuff that we all know through the old media of what's going on.
I don't know what you mean.
Oh, right. Well, you know, like there's yin and yang. There's always where there's good energy, there's bad energy. And, you know, there's certain controllers in the world who want to turn the world into a certain cesspit. And then obviously people like ourselves are the people who are trying to change things and make it positive.
Oh, yeah, I know about that.
Yeah, okay.
But the thing is, in 5D, there's just pure unconditional love.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And the reason why I say that is because I had a few weeks ago. I'm pretty sure it was. I don't think it was a dream. I think it was more astral. but I'm not too sure, so I can't confirm it. But I felt that love energy, right?
Wow.
And it was phenomenal.
That's amazing, Alan.
It was phenomenal. And when you say love energy, it was love energy, right?
Wow.
And I don't know whether and it's kind of, oh, don't go away, come on, come back, I want you. So, and when you experience that, it is unbelievable. And if that's what we're going to in 5D, well then, I'm signing up straight away.
That's it. And how do you cultivate that? Like, I think we've all had those kind of existential experiences, and for myself, I've always activated transformations in my routine in my life, like in really upgrading my vibration after incidences like that, like maybe stop watching TV, maybe bathing in springs, or not being around toxic people and toxic relationships. I think it's really important when we have these intense meetings with that love, that we use it to catalyze us really getting into a high vibration, do you know what I mean, and making changes in our lives so that we can live in a high vibration. Because I actually remember times when I did that, where transforming old patterns, and it was so fundamental to stabilizing in 5D consciousness.
Well, I think you have to agree, we have to take care of our shadow side.
Oh, absolutely. That's my speciality subject.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have to do that. Any negative energy that we're carrying around, any issues that we have with people, if you don't make up with them, just say, okay, you send your blessings and everything else, and just clear it up, because we have to deal with the shadow side, because all the energies that are coming in are going to bring it to the surface anyway. So either way, we're going to have to deal with it.
Yeah. That's right. I mean, for myself, I every time I work with my own shadow self, and I meet it, and I face it, and I embrace it, and I stand underneath it and listen to that aspect of myself, and it's very often just stuck in this trauma loop. And when I actually stop running from it and really stand underneath it, and then I bring it home, back to love, back to the heart, and then I've noticed that at times like that, life's like a game of Pac-Man. And actually, you're going along your level, and it turns out that your shadow is one of those gold coins. And if you actually stop running and really face it, and and do that alchemy, in that level of Pac-Man, you gobble up that gold coin, and actually then you go to the next level. And that's what I've noticed. It upgrades your vibration every time you meet your shadow.
Yeah, we know that there's a great saying about life. And it's just on a day-to-day basis we have to deal with things, but it goes like this, in life, sometimes you're the pigeon and sometimes you're the statue, if you know what I mean. So we have to deal with them issues in our life that have to be dealt with, but there's always the positive and negative, the yin and yang, and I think staying away from negative people, staying away from energy vampires, and that's one thing I'm kind of more focused on these days, in all honesty. I don't know about you, Steve, but I'm just more conscious of staying away from people that will just have I'm not interested in their energy if it's just not on the same frequency.
Well, we said that.
Bad.
Yeah, we said that before. I mean, it's difficult to do though if you work with people who are negative. I mean, if you're the only positive, let's say you're a positive person in a building full of negative people, it's quite difficult, And as you say, Alan, you have to shield yourself, you have to pull in, you have to protect yourself, and do what you can so you won't be drawn into it. I mean, it is difficult at the best of times. But I mean, it's a journey. It is an uphill struggle. I mean, from what we're doing on a daily basis.
I'd be casting spells in those places of light spells and laughter spells, and asking the fairies and pixies to move in to give them a little tickle, etheric tickle.
The elementals that we have.
Invoke the elementals to transform that vibration if you are out of balance.
Yeah.
That's what do.
Well, this is it. This is all about what we try and do, and I'm sure other people do, is try and educate and get people on you like yourself to, get people to, they don't have to believe it. They can entertain the thought. They can do the research. They can check it out and check it out for themselves. And, it's all energy. We're all frequency. We're all one consciousness. We're all part of the same planet, and we're all vibrating on the same frequency near enough. And that's what we have to all understand. And we have to probably get back to source in some way. So what's so this is coming up to the end of April now, and we have another 5 months to September. Now there's a reason why I say September, because apparently the US are not going to get funded anymore. I know Thomas mentioned that on his show, that the money, they're not going to fund the US anymore. They're not going to kick the ball down the road. So September and then October, it's a bit of a tie-in there, all right. But no, I'd be just curious, because sometimes you're on an emotional roller coaster, because not so much now for us, but in the early days, people would predict things and it wouldn't happen, and is it going to happen? No, it's not going to happen. And even Alison Keogh, she was saying all the regression she did with all her patients, and 75% of them said, oh yeah, it's going to be the first quarter. And now we're in April, and nothing major has happened. I know you said you've experienced it, but there's only a few people that have in that case. Most people haven't experienced anything. So I think Alison learned the lesson not to be giving out dates, because she could shoot herself in the foot.
Well, I just think it's silly. I think it's just 3D thinking, and that's not what this is all about. This is about really, really being awakened and really prioritising and focusing on that. And, and once you are, you've been through the event yourself, it's happening in the eternal now. And then, for me, everywhere I go, I am the event. I am the wave. Like, there's no separation. Like, I don't live in a consciousness where there's a separation from the wave. And, and then one day that wave is going to get really, really big, and there's going to be like atmospheric changes, and as a being, I am expanding into that. But for me, there's no waiting. Like, that just does not exist in my reality.
Okay, well, we have a question for you from our chat room. Steve?
Yeah, Moon Girl on PIR chat is wondering, do both our twin flames have a Christ consciousness?
Well, what my understanding is that we share exactly the same higher self. So my spirit team have showed it to me as like we share the same hard drive computer, and we have one hard drive, and then it's split into two, and so it's like ultimately it's one Christ consciousness that splits into two, and then so any lessons or experiences that one of those two experiences, it gets fed into the same identical hard drive, and then so even though it may seem as though one of the twins is asleep and one of the twins is awakened, actually all those awakened codes are going into the hard drive, so that when the asleep twin, meets the other twin and actually does wake up, it'll be very, very fast for them to come to the same level as the awakened twin. So, twins share the same hard drive computer. I think that's the best way to put it. Or you could say the same higher self.
And what about, your twin flame? Could your twin flame be someone who you have never met and you're on a journey to meet this person? Or could your twin flame be someone who you've met in this lifetime and then lost contact?
There's just no limits. Your twin flame could be a walk-in. Your twin flame could be suddenly coexisting on the 12th dimension, but suddenly there's going to be this massive shift, and so they've made an agreement with some dude that they're going to do a swap. You don't know. It's absolutely infinite what is going on now with many, many twins. There are some twins that know about each other. There are other twins that don't. There is just infinite possibilities, because this is where we're going now, to this realm of it's not linear. Time is operating concurrently. Parallel timelines are operating concurrently at all times.
So do you think, we're just about to finish up now, Jen, but do you think the timelines are merging into one?
The timelines are already merged into one, and our consciousness is attuning to that knowing on an individual and collective level.
Right, okay. Well, look, that's fantastic. Well, Jen, thanks for coming on the show. We're going to have to finish up the show now for the last 10 minutes, but thanks for coming on. Much appreciated. And, we'll see what happens in the rest of the year. I'm going to pass you over to Steve, and Steve's going to get all the contact information and where people can find you. Steve.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, great stuff, Jen. A lot of positive feedback on the chat rooms there. Some people are saying you sound very energetic, and I have to say, all through the past 45 minutes, you sound like you're really, really pumped and fair play. And I want to thank you for that, for your energy. Hopefully, it will rub off on some people. If people want to find out more about Jen and what she's doing and your journey, where can they get that information? And please, if you're going to give out web addresses, will you do it slowly, because I have to type this while you're calling it out.
All right, so it's mataharij.com, which is spelled MATA.
Yeah.
HARI.
Yeah, go ahead.
JI. mataharij.com.
Okay, that was easy. Anything else?
Well, Matahari G is very good. Like, put that in YouTube. You get on my YouTube videos. They're very popular. And also Facebook. I've made this Facebook group called The Event Is Happening. We've had like over 20,000 people join in 5 weeks, and it's really, really just a phenomenal thing to be part of. And so I'm very active in that group, and everyone knows me in that group. I do live videos and all sorts. So that's a really good place to connect with me, I reckon. Okay,
so mataharij.com, and also Facebook for the website, The Event Is Happening.
The Event Is Happening, yeah.
Cool.
Brilliant stuff. All right, Jen, just stay with us there. We're just going to go off to a musical break, and we'll be back after this.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMradio.com and peoplesinternetradio.com.
Okay, and we are back. That's good information there from Jen. Very high energy. mataharij.com is the website for people listening but if you're on the chat room there, you will see the link also. And The Event Is Happening Facebook page. I actually haven't subscribed to that, so I might just check that out as well. What you say? It says 20,222.
Something like that, yeah.
Well, she's going to have 20,223 now, shortly.
Good stuff. Right, okay. Great information, as you say, from Jen. Keep an open mind to things, I would do that. Just keep an open mind. Do the research and check it out yourself, and normal stuff. We can't confirm a lot of stuff because we haven't experienced it, so we can't really. That's down to us just to maybe we need more meditation. I think maybe that's the case. So anyway, big thanks to our guest tonight. Anyway, now our guest next week is a chap in Australia called Danny Searle. And Danny was born and raised in Brisbane, Australia. Danny Searle is a highly successful spiritual guidance counsellor with a background in spiritual psychology with over 25 years experience. I think he's a contactee as well. So we'll have Danny on the show next week, and we'll be having a chat with him and find out what his take is on the New Earth and the event and everything else, because there's so much talk about it these days. And we're just trying to get a kind of good overview of different people and see what they're saying, and see if is it all true, or is it just wishful thinking? Maybe, I don't know. Now, funny enough, we talk about the Earth changing and the magnetics and the pole shift happening as well. And I did see an article in the Independent.ie, and it said how a shift in Earth's magnetic poles forces Cork Airport into critical runway name change. I don't know whether you've seen this article, Steve.
Nope.
It says changes to the magnetic poles of the Earth have forced the renaming of the main Cork Airport runway. Because of gradual changes in the Earth's magnetic poles, runways have to be designated roughly every 50 years. In 1961, Cork Airport's main runway was designated as runway 17/35. However, it is now runway 16/34. Over the past 57 years, the Earth's magnetic poles have changed and shifted the magnetic headings of the runway. The runway now stands at 164M and 344M respectively. So, we've come across this before, that runways in America as well, they've redesignated the runways because of the magnetic pole shift. So, there are things going on. I mean, that's in the mainstream media, and we've heard, as I say, other airports that have gone through this. So, there's definitely stuff going on with the pole shift, and I think there's two parts of it. There's the magnetic pole shift, and then there's the physical Earth pole shift. And I remember we had Thomas on the show, and Thomas was saying that his information is saying that the poles where people are talking about the whole doom and gloom of the pole shift, well, apparently that's not going to happen. It's going to be a gradual thing. And I refer to the book, The Only Planet of Choice, again, because they actually talk about this, the Earth being out of balance 23 degrees and has to be rebalanced. And I know Thomas said on his show that it'll be a temperate climate. So it'll be like, every day will be nice and sunny and warm. It won't be too cold, it won't be too warm, it'll be just right when we get 0 degrees. And boy, if that happens, I'll be looking forward to that. What do you think?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I can't multitask. I'm actually replying to a comment here on the chat room. Look, anything that happens that's going to be good and beneficial, yeah, bring it on. And I mean, look, we can understand about the magnetic. Yeah, it was never going to just happen overnight. I mean, I think from information that we've heard, like over the years, it always kind of sounded like that. It was going to be like, you'd be just kind of walking down the street, and all of a sudden, bang, the magnetic pole is going to change, and all of a sudden north's going to be south and south's going to be north and all this. That was never going to happen. I mean, from what you're saying there and what the article says in relation to runways, it was always going to be a gradual process. I don't think it was just going to, like the whole, as Jem was talking about, the whole awakening process, the 3D, the 5D, it's going to be it'll be an internal thing, I suppose, at first, but it's going to be a slow process. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a magic wand, a big flash of light, and everything's going to change.
No, maybe something will happen. I know people are experiencing and feeling different things. As to whether it's going to be this year or is it going to happen, I don't know. I know I listened to an interview a while back with Jared Rand, who's the guy who talks about the med bed, and he said that that he expects that to happen this year. Okay. So. But then again, don't go with that because we've heard it before. It's the emotion roller coaster and everything else. Just do what you have to do on a day-to-day basis. Wake people up, educate them, and let them know what's going on. And then if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I know we're all frustrated. I know we're all tired. I know we all want to go over. We've done our bit. We want to move on to the new earth and crack on with that. I've heard that so many times from people. And yeah, we're all in that boat. But we just, maybe we don't know what our soul contract is. Mm-hmm. Are we going to be staying here to help other people move over, or are we going to be ascending and not coming back? I don't know.
Or maybe it's a case of, the fact that the more you want it, the less you're going to get it. Maybe when we stop wanting it, then maybe it'll just happen.
Yeah. Well, again, probably not wanting it, being the skeptic is probably the best way to be. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, just carry on.
But it's kind of like, have you ever went to bed and you're tired and you want to go to sleep and you're concentrating so hard on going to sleep that you can't sleep? And then all of a sudden you clear your mind and you fall asleep.
Well, one of the things that is common with a lot of people now, and they're saying that they're not eating as much and they're not sleeping as much. And they're obviously have aches and pains and stuff like that, which is,
Right, I've just ticked 3 of those boxes. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, and there's ringing in the ear. That's very popular.
Yeah.
Loads of people are experiencing the ringing in the ear. Synchronicities, maybe things happening on a synchronistic level. I'm just trying to think what else is going on. No, there's quite a number of things anyway that people are talking about. And again, the whole health thing, there's so many people that I know, like a number of people that all at the same time they're not well. It's just too uncanny. And there's people just passing over for no particular reason. So obviously there is something going on, definitely going on. And I just think you have to be grounded. First and foremost, you have to be grounded. Don't be flighty and don't be running all over the place. Ground yourself. And be an observer. Don't get involved, but just be an observer. And then try and deal with your shadow side. If there's anything that you have to deal with, because all this stuff is going to be coming up, and you're going to have to deal with it anyway. So you might as well start dealing with it, your shadow side, and get to a level of peace with whoever it is that you fall out with. And if you're falling out and there's no point reconciling, then just send them, love and light and all that kind of stuff, and wish them well. And just, cut the ties and then just work on yourself. Because that's what we have to do. I suppose, as Jen said, we have to work on ourselves and do a bit of meditation. Now, every now and again, if you do, people might think, meditation, you have to sit for an hour and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes I just sit for 10 minutes. I might be, like the school run. If I do the school run, every now and again, I might just close my eyes and meditate for 10 minutes while I'm waiting.
Yeah, we've actually heard those stories of you meditating for 10 minutes. The light goes green and the people are blowing the horn. Alan just sits there for 10 minutes.
Yeah, no, I put my glasses on so nobody can see me with my eyes closed. But I was going to say, with 4 minutes, I was going to say, what's the weekly gripe? Is there any weekly gripe that we have this week? Last week we had parking.
I have to say, in all honesty, and this is because of the story I mentioned earlier, in relation to that wee lad, Alfie Evans, my gripe for this week is the fact that, if you have a child and your child is unwell and the current medical system in whatever country you may be says there's nothing more we can do for your child, and you go, well, okay, well, let me take my child home because there's someone else in some other country who says they may be able to help, and then the judicial system gets involved and they go, no. That's my gripe, is that your child is not your child is not your own, really. They're kind of a ward of the state, and you are the caregiver. And even if you claim that your child is your property, I want my property back. I don't even think that works well, it certainly didn't work in this case. And actually, just as a side note, now I don't know how true this is, but in relation to the Alfie Evans case, my wife said to me during the week, and again, I don't know if this is something she heard or she just suspected. I probably should have clarified that with her. But she said that when the child was 9 months old, he may have been vaccinated, and that's when the problem started. His brain was damaged from 9 months.
I was going to say, do you think it's a medical cover-up, and that's why?
That was what I was thinking during the week. My spidey senses were tingling, and I said, I wonder, is that what it was? And maybe if he goes to another country, they will investigate, and they go, that's vaccine damage.
Yeah.
And that would really blow a lid off something.
Yeah, and I had the feeling that might be the case, and I don't know whether it's speculation at the moment, but that might be the case, that it could be a medical malpractice and they're trying to cover it up, and that's why they're doing what they're doing, because the proverbial will hit the fan. Yeah, that'd be interesting to find out, but we'll never know at this stage.
Any gripes yourself?
No gripes this week, but I just want to leave on a positive note to say to people, look, things are changing. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot of positives out there, and things are changing. And just be aware that there's a lot of crap out there, and there's a lot of negative propaganda trying to get you to be resonating on a lower frequency and put you in fear. So just be aware of that, and just be an observer. Don't go down the negative route. Just be an observer. And just accept the fact that they are trying to play mind games on you, and they have their programs running. So don't get caught up with programs or involved with programs. Just as I say, be an observer, because there are good things coming, and there are changes taking place, and there's a lot of good people working in the background for them changes to take place. It has to happen. But obviously it's going to take time, because there's a lot of things to change. So we just have to be patient and just keep doing what we're doing, really. That's all I'll say. Right, for myself, Alan James, have a good week. Take it easy. If you have any links, not with any dodgy content, send them over to us, and we do try and have a read. I should be, one of the project I'm working on should be finished up this week for me. So I'll have a bit more time next week as well. After that, so we everything goes back to normal. So for myself anyway, take it easy, have a good week, take care, bye bye.
Okay, and for myself, Stephen George, it's been a great evening. Thanks to everyone who joined us on both of the chat rooms, and also a shout out there to Southern Australia, to Peter. Thanks for tuning in, Peter. I think Peter got up at 4:30 in the AM. I think he said 4:30 in the AM, just to listen to us. So fair play, thanks for that. And Barry Prince is up next on People's Internet Radio with The Big Puzzle. We'll be back next week at the same time, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. GMT. If you have any emails or just want to get in touch, let us know that you tuned in or have any information or some questions in relation to any of the topics that you heard on the show this evening. info@oymradio.com is the email address. Until next week, take care. Bye-bye.
Open your mind.